Hello again, everyone. I'm Joe Longinusa, welcoming you to another edition of Next on the Tee with Chris-Mascaro, the show where industry leaders, golf professionals, and legends all come and discuss the great game we love so much. So without further ado, let's turn it over to our host to tell us who's next on the tee. Chris, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Joe. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me this morning on Next on the Tee. I am your host, Chris Mascaro, and today I get to share with you two of my all-time favorite guests, and Eric Johnson and Shaun Micheel. Eric is going to join me here in just a couple of minutes. This is going to be his fifth visit with me on the show, and I always have so much fun when he's a part of it. So I look forward to talking with Eric, like I say, in just a couple of moments. He's been named one of the top 100 instructors by Golf Magazine every year since 2011, and he is the director of instruction at Oakmont Country Club. We'll get Eric's thoughts on several things today, including the 2015 golf season, the year that was, if you will, what he thinks about the wraparound season, because the 2016 season has already started, folks, and that's something I just can't seem to get my brain wrapped around that concept. Plus, we'll hear about the preparations that have already started for the 2016 U.S. Open there at Oakmont and some of the course conditions, which are unbelievable there. And like I say, Eric will be here in just a couple of minutes. Following Eric, like I say, is 2003 PGA champion Shaun Micheel. He's going to be back with me to answer more of your questions about 20 minutes from now. And if you have a question that you'd like for Shaun to answer with us, on a future episode right here on the air, please go to the Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro Facebook page and share them with me, and or go to Twitter. My Twitter account is @CTMascaro. Send me the questions. We'll make sure that we ask Shaun and get it on the air for you. So it's going to be another great show this morning, folks. I am so glad you're here to take the journey with me. Next on the Tee is brought to you today by our friends over at Seymour Putters. Let's get things rolling by hearing a word from them.
Golfers, has this happened to you? Great drive, perfect second shot on the green, only to 3 or even 4 putt? Shaking your head all the way back to the cart. I have good news. Help is on the way with the Seymour Putter. The Seymour Putter Company patented RST technology sets up the putter perfectly every time using a visible gun sight on the top line. Genius! It's like locking radar onto the target, in this case, the golf hole, putting the golfer in perfect position to make a reliable and consistent stroke. The 1999 U.S. Open, 2007 Masters, and 2015 British Open champions all used, you guessed it, the Seymour Putter. So if you're ready to make more putts, take strokes off your game, log on to Seymour.com. That's SEEMORE.com, and put a Seymour Putter in your bag today.
Yeah, like Joe said, check out their rifle scope technology to help win now 3 majors and 36 tour events and counting, because this year's British Open champion was using a Seymour Putter, and it's going to help you make more putts. I know it's helping me make more putts. Check them out online at Seymour.com, and like Joe said, it's SEEMORE.com, and get one in your bag. You're going to be very glad you did. We're also sponsored by the French Lick Resort in French Lick, Indiana. Folks, you want to talk about a spectacular resort to play golf and to just relax and enjoy yourself. Well, you're not going to find a better place on the planet than the French Lick Resort. Go to FrenchLick.com and see for yourself. I had the privilege of taking my family there back in June, and we are already looking forward to going back as quickly as we can. The resort, it's historic and it's beautiful. They've got some wonderful gardens out behind the resort and a relaxing rocking chair porch all across the front. And the golf, my friends, oh my goodness, the golf. The Pete Dye course there is kept in championship condition year-round, and they could be ready to host a major championship at a moment's notice, like our friends, today up at Oakmont. This year, the French Lick Resort hosted the Senior PGA Championship and the LPGA Legends Championship. So if you've ever wondered what it would be like to play in a major, you can do it there on the Pete Dye course. They've also got a Donald Ross design course, which is also fantastic. It's the site of Walter Hagen's PGA Championship victory back in 1924. They've also got the Valley Links course on the property that dates back to 1907. So the French Lick Resort needs to be on your list of places to stay and play. And oh, by the way, they got a casino right there on the property as well. For more information and to book your stay, go to FrenchLick.com. Also want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Allen Edmonds, makers of top-quality made-in-the-USA shoes. Folks, the shoes of great leaders, from the Oval Office to corner offices to stage and screen and promising cubicles all around the country, are a part of what make people successful. The right footwear is important on the carpets and the hardwood floors of our global economy. Get it right with made-in-the-USA quality and value from Allen Edmonds. Allen Edmonds is an American original. They've been making shoes in the U.S. in Wisconsin since 1922. Check them out online at allenedmonds.com as well. All right, folks, we like to kick the show off every single week by doing one thing that is very important to us, and that is by saluting the brave men and women serving in our military. We want to thank all of you for your daily sacrifices and for what you do to keep the rest of us safe. We also want to thank our veterans and all you've done for us over the years. We truly appreciate everything that our military personnel do to preserve our freedoms and our liberties. It's through your strength and your efforts that our way of life is even possible. Our sincere thanks as well to Sean Cruz and the wonderful folks over at the Armed Forces Radio Network. It's an honor for us to have Next on the Tee be a part of your network. You can find our show by going to armedforcesradionetwork.org. And we also want to remind our veterans, please, be sure to check out globalvoiceforveterans.org. What a wonderful site with news and articles and a wealth of information designed specifically for our veterans out there that I'm sure you're going to find both interesting and beneficial. Please, again, check it out, globalvoiceforveterans.org. And one last thing before we get started, I want to give a shout out to my mom just because I love her. Fellas, remember, it's always important to remember your mom, always. And to my father, who made a 6-hole to 1 this week at his home course up at Windstone in Ottawa, Tennessee. Par 3, 11th hole, a little downhill, 175 yards, so a back left pin corner, hit a little draw back there to the back, and it found its way to the bottom of the cup. He got hole-in-one, he got a hole-in-one number 6, for him, for my buddies and I. We're still wishing for number 1. But as always, congratulations, Dad, on another hole-in-one. All right, now back with me on the Seymour Putters guest line is Eric Johnson. Let me remind you a little bit more about Eric's background. He was a 4-year letterman at Mississippi State University from 1992 to 1995, earned his degree in professional golf management. He remains in the Bulldogs' top 20 for most rounds played. He has been the director of instruction at Oakmont Country Club since 2004. Golf Magazine has named him one of the top 100 teachers every year since 2011. He's also been recognized by Golf Digest as a top 40 under 40 teacher. He is a 3-time Tri-State PGA Teacher of the Year. He is also a 2-time Horton Smith Award winner for his contributions to education. He's on the advisory staff for TaylorMade Adidas Golf. He's played on the Canadian Tour, the Sunshine Tour, and the Golden Bear Tour. And as I said in the intro a moment ago, he's one of my all-time favorite guests here on Next on the Tee. Good morning, Eric. How are you doing this morning, my friend?
Hey, Chris. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, buddy. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. Better now that you're here, my friend.
Thanks.
Eric, I wanted to start our time this morning by getting your thoughts, on the 2015 golf season that was. It started, as the Jordan Spieth run to the Grand Slam through July, and then it sort of shifted to Jason Day getting the Majors monkey off his back, followed by, a great run by him through July and August, and then ultimately swung back around to Jordan winning the Tour Championship and the FedEx Cup. Give us your thoughts on what you saw this season.
Well, I think you saw an incredible year. Really, the history that Jordan Spieth was on was incredible. I thought that Rory was kind of a whiff this year. I was expecting a lot more out of him, and I can't quite figure him out. He'll go really, really hot, and then all of a sudden he just kind of goes out to lunch. I certainly don't think that Rory is as hungry as Tiger ever was. Tiger seemed to always contend, and then Jason Day making his incredible, his incredible run to number 1 in the world. It was absolutely a spectacular year. I can't say enough about Jason and Jordan. I think they're both incredible players, and I think they're great human beings as well. You can see that, when you watch these interviews, you can tell how good human beings those guys are. So golf right now is in really, really good hands. I'm happy about where it's at, the state of golf.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the wraparound season, Eric? I can't get my head around the fact that we've already started the 2016 season.
I'm just not a fan. I think that it needs to have some sort of a break. Now we're going to go into the silly season, so to speak, and no one pays attention to these tournaments. You can't even tell me where they're playing. I don't even know. I know it's Vegas, and then it was the Shriners, and I just don't quite get it. I'd love to see it, kind of back to the olden days. I'd love to see a skins game again. I'd love to see some of the funny, listen, let's do something a little different. I always loved the skins game. Who wouldn't want to watch, Jordan Spieth and Jason Day and Rory McIlroy playing for skins? I'd love to see it. I just think that they're clogging the market there a little bit. I just don't think they're giving themselves enough break. Because it's hard to, what does everybody really get geared up for next year? The Masters. I mean, people are always starting to kind of think about the Masters. So I think they need a little break. That's my personal opinion, and someone can argue otherwise, but that's mine.
Yeah, no, and I share the same opinion. I too miss. You mentioned silly season. I miss silly season. I miss the skins game. Both on the the regular tour players and the Champions Tour players. I miss Nicklaus and Watson and Trevino and those guys playing for skins. And I think you're right. I think everyone would love to see Spieth and Day and whether it's McIlroy and Bubba Watson or and Ricky Fowler, whoever you wanted to stick in with the four playing for skins. I think that's a lot of fun. I think golf misses that. And to your point, I don't know that there's anybody paying attention to what's going on in the golf season. Not only just because these are lesser tournaments and that sort of thing, and I think that the big name players outside of Ricky Fowler, who's playing this week, are more taking a break and need the break. But and it's football season. No one's watching golf on Sunday afternoon. Oh, by the way, open.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just think that they need to, and trust me, these tournaments are important. And don't get me wrong on that either, because I think the charity and all the things they do, they're great events, but there's just not the buzz that needs to be there. It's a PGA Tour event. It should have a lot of buzz, and it just doesn't have the buzz.
Right. Eric, we saw Jason Day hitting 385-yard drives at the PGA Championship. Bubba Watson hit a drive that actually went through the green on the 404-yard par 4 13th at Whistling Straits. Is it time now, Eric, for the PGA to really take a look at the golf ball and dial it back, because it's starting to get ridiculous how far these guys are hitting the ball?
Well, it is starting to get a little ridiculous. When you look at it, the manufacturers are, think about it like this. It's like NASCAR. They're always going to find a way to, when there's that much money out there, somebody is always going to find a way to get past some rule. The guys on tour are too good. The manufacturers are figuring out that, hey, once that ball speed gets to a certain amount, it incrementally, once that ball hits at the face at like 110, the ball incrementally starts doing, crazy stuff. And we know that. And the manufacturers are smart enough to figure it out. And, I'll tell you what, that I'm not trying to plug TaylorMade here, but it's a great company. But something's crazy up with that driver when Jason Day is going through his historic run as he is going through and changes his driver mid-season to that thing and hits it 10 yards further. So, the manufacturers they're really smart. That M1 is going like crazy, and the manufacturers figured out, launch conditions. Once you get fitted like that, it's amazing to see what happens to the ball. Now, the only way, if you didn't do anything with the equipment, if you made the rough so penal that it was like a penalty shot, that's the way to, you hear everyone go stop the ball. How about grow some rough and make the greens firm and fast? And that will eliminate that jump in scoring that you're seeing, I believe. I mean, we see it here. When the rough is up here at Oakmont and, the greens are firm and fast, this golf course is absolutely bare. Now, if you make it soft, we see our scores really go down in what we call the SWAT. The SWAT is a great game. We play it, 3 days a week, and it's one best ball, the foursome. The ball has to be holed, 0 handicap. You get an A, B, C, D player. Everybody goes out and has a good time. And we notice it when it's wet and the greens are kind of soft. The scores are ridiculously low. But now, hear this one. We played on Wednesday. The scores, the golf course is so firm and so fast right now. Then a one best ball of a foursome, ABCD player, 72 was the lowest score. Now, that's amazing. That tells you that there's something up with the golf courses. We saw 78s in that event that day. I mean, with 4 guys. Only one guy has to get in the hole. The 4 guys had 78. And we had 2 teams that did that. I mean, it's amazing how hard this golf course can be. I said it before the show. You could play the Open here literally in a week or maybe 5 days, 3 days, grow the rough for 3 days, and slow the greens down, and we could host the Open.
I love that comment. Slow the greens down.
The players would go crazy over this place right now. They'd be bitching and moaning more than they do now. I mean, this place is so firm and fast right now. I think 12 over would win if they played the Open. I'm not kidding either. This place is perfect right now. The condition issues out there at Chambers Bay, well, I'll tell you what, we don't have any of them here. Those boys are going to get their hands full next year. It is spectacular right now. Best I've seen in years.
So and that's been the urban legend, right? Which is clearly not an urban legend, but the story has always been that the greens are firmer and faster when you're holding your own internal tournaments than it is for U.S. Open conditions, which you just said you have to slow the greens down. So give us an idea, Eric, when on a typical day of the week, like you just said, you had a tournament a couple of days ago. What are the greens rolling now? And what will they roll when the Open comes around?
Well, I can tell you that I am sure that they were approaching 15 on the stimp meter, and I'm sure of it. And, if you got above the hole and you were downwind, you'd put them off the green. I mean, you can't stop them. And now that would get borderline into, Mickey Mouse stuff for an Open. And, during the Open, they will be in 11, maybe 12. And so you're slowing them down at least 3 feet. Now, the funny thing, Chris, I was here in 94, 5, 6, and 7 as an assistant. So I saw the 94 Open. I saw 2007. We've seen the 10, the Ladies Open. I've seen it 3 times now. And we have slowed the greens down for those 3 Opens. I can guarantee you that. I was there.
Wow.
I saw it. And that's not a myth. And the crazy part about the Men's Open in 2007, the rough was so ridiculous that so many guys were complaining that they ended up cutting it down on Wednesday night. And our members are like, hey, what's going on here? We've been playing in this for months, and you guys show up for 3 days and say it's too hard and cut it. They went crazy. They were like, come on, you can't do that. We've been getting beat up for this for months. But they complained enough, and sure enough, they cut it down a little bit, which probably needed it. I mean, it did. Yeah, it probably did. But
yeah.
So if you want to stop scoring, firm greens and thick rough. It'll tone the ball down. People won't be able to go at it all the time.
That's the funny thing to me is when you think about members at Oakmont are actually playing tougher conditions on a day-to-day basis than what the USGA is going to set up for the U.S. Open. That's incredible. I don't think that happens anywhere else on the planet. I could be wrong, but I've never heard of that anywhere else.
Chris, it's unlike anything I've ever seen right now. I had the managing editor of Golf Magazine, Eamon Lynch, out here on Monday. We did a big photo shoot for the U.S. Open preview. It'll be in the June issue. We got 6-7 pages in there. It's going to be a great preview, of what to expect and how to tame this beast if you can. And I'm not sure that you can, but we filmed, driving, putting. We've got bunkers in there, and then we have, in the videos that we'll run you through the tee shot on 16, the incredible long iron par 3. Then you have a layup hole on 17, which is awesome. Do you lay up, do you go for it? And then the tee shot on 18, which is rare air up there when you're on Sunday about 6 o'clock, during the Open, because that is going to be where it's all won and lost. If you don't hit in the fairway, you're going to lose the tournament, period. But it was funny. Eamon, we're playing along, and Eamon was like, you know what? This place blows me away. He goes, and not only that, it gets harder the closer you get to the green. I mean, everything, these little chips and these pitches with the greens as firm and fast as they are, most players cannot finish right now because they're going to make a 6, 7, 8, 9, pick the ball up. It's just that hard right now. Now, is that borderline? Maybe, but for the Open, we don't let it get out of hand. And if you've noticed the pin placements here, 2007, 2010, not one pin was unfair. They were hard, but they was not unfair. And you didn't see the Mickey Mouse stuff where it rolls up and down and up and down. You didn't have those. So it's a hard test, but legitimately I will I don't even have a problem saying that we have slowed the greens down for the last 3 opens. No question, hands down.
So to that point, and you sort of alluded to it a moment ago, Eric. When you've got guests coming into play, I'm sure that the everyday members are very used to what the conditions are like and that sort of thing. But when you've got guests that come in here, do they get frustrated by the golf course because it's just too hard to play?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you make a par on this, and you go, "Holy cow! I just made a par. That's awesome." Now, like, well, wait a minute, a par is a par. But right now, you make a par, you felt like you've done something. And the golf course is beating people up right now. She's got her teeth to her right now. I mean, and she is beating people up. And
wow.
we have a really cool match between Oakmont and Loch Lomond Golf Club over in Scotland. This is our 11th year of the matches. They come over here on the odds, we go over on the even, and we have a Ryder Cup style matches, and it's great. 12 guys go over there. It's phenomenal. And they were just here, and they, and we kind of need that. They've got some great players that can really play their handicaps, and we, ours are, maybe don't quite live up to some of their handicaps, but the harder this golf course, the better. And it just beats people up. And, we thank goodness won the matches this year and beat up on them pretty good. But the golf course, when it's firm and fast like that, it kind of demoralizes people because they're not, most people aren't used to saying, I just hit 3 great shots there and I made a bogey. And that's what can happen right now when the greens are as firm and fast as they are. It can really demoralize people. Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, that's, the good news and the bad news, right? The good news, it's interesting that what we'll get to see when the Open comes around, and we know it's going to be a very strict, test of golf. Always is, at a U.S. Open, but even more so when it's at Oakmont. You got to wonder, is that, for the everyday player that's coming there that goes, a guy like me that goes, wow, I'm at Oakmont. I guess to your point, I guess the reward is if you can finally make a par, you feel really good about yourself. But, in the meantime, you're going, am I picking up, that's a 10. I'll just take a 10.
Yeah, pick it up at that point. If you make a par, you feel like you've accomplished something. And I'm not sure that you feel that same sense of gratification at other places. It's
right.
This place is a bear. There's no question about it.
Yeah. And, as we get into the winter time, Eric, we get maybe deeper into December, January, February, maybe even March up there. How do you protect the course, from the snow, all the cold temperatures and that sort of thing so that, in the spring you don't find yourself with, you've lost part of the golf course due to the winter conditions?
Well, we've done a couple things. We changed our aerification schedule. We're going to aerify again next week. We did it in August, and we want to give it one more really good chance to, get some good, growth there again. I don't think it needs it, but we're doing it. And the changes that we've made, we covered some greens over the winters now, and Superintendent John Zimmers does a great job. If there's ice on the golf course or on the greens, he won't let it get out of hand. He'll go out and crush it and get rid of the ice. So the covering is going to be, we're going to have covers on it a lot this year because we're, obviously want to show our best product for next June. So everything's basically done. The golf course is, all the changes to the golf course are done, and the improvements look marvelous. We took out some more trees. Trees around here are pretty nervous about those chainsaws. We love them, but there's one internal tree, so it's still hanging around, but he's still hanging in there. But we'll get him sooner or later. But it just, the golf course is going to look phenomenal on TV, and the conditioning right now is perfect. And I expect nothing else for next year. I think it will be an awesome test. Now, the last couple of years, as most northeastern courses have gotten, we've got a little dinged up from the winter, but we came out pretty good. We came out kicking this year, so I think we'll be in good shape.
Let's talk more about things going on actually out on the tour itself, Eric. And if you were the PGA Tour commissioner, is there anything about the game or how it is being presented to the public that you would look to change?
Well, my biggest thing would be the pace of it. it's just gotten, I mean, at least baseball did something and said, hey, you guys can't step out of the box all the time, even though this guy's full with their gloves all the time. That gets embarrassing. I mean, I watched the President's Cup, and this JB Holmes, his routine, if I had to play with that, I'd just say, you know what, JB, the point's yours. I can't watch you do this. I mean, I'm sorry, folks. I cannot watch this guy. I mean, it can't mean that much to you. Just go over and hit it, man. I mean, it's just, we've all been out there. I mean, I can't imagine watching some of these routines. Keegan Bradley a little bit, too. Drives me crazy. The twirl and the in and out. It's like, God almighty, what is he doing? Would he just step in and hit the ball? I mean, what? Why is this taking so long? I have a little problem with that. I mean,
yeah.
It was painful to watch. You're watching the President's Cup. Man, I'd love to see how this ends, but I can't watch this 5-minute routine, and then watch him chunk a chip. I just, I think they had to change the coverage 3 times on that chip on JB Holmes. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, I know it's playing for something. Geez, let's go. I'd change the pace of play. I really think you got to get strict on that. The manufacturers are always going to fool with things, and you penalize. I almost think there should be 2 sets of rules. I mean, you these poor club players, we take away square grooves, and so they can't spin it, and the tour players know how to, trap it and open it up and use the balance and slide it under it, and they can still get away with creating different ways to create spin and loft. Now the average player can't, so you take that away from them. Then you take away the long putter. And you know what? If you're gonna let some, let's make it age dependent. But there's a lot of older players that get the shakes, and and we want to see them play. I mean, we're trying to the PGA of America. I think PGA Professional. We're trying to grow the game. I'm not sure about some of the other organizations. They say they're protecting the game. Protecting it from what? You're protecting it from a declining number of players. That does not make sense. You're doing things that. You're doing things that are making it go the opposite direction. You're making less players, not more. So, to me, if some guy needs to shake it over there with a long putter, let him shake it over there. Who cares? Give him square grooves back. Hell, make a ball that goes 400 yards for the amateurs. I mean, how much fun would that be? Chris, think about it. You step up and blast this thing, and it goes 400 yards. You go, oh, my God, that looked like Bubba Watson. Yeah, exactly. That's fun, isn't it? But no, what's he doing? He hits 180 yards. I mean, let's make the game fun again. We're losing players. We know that. We've lost 1 million players a year for the last 5 years. We know that. Golf numbers are down. And, and you want to regulate it more? Hell, do whatever you want for the tour, but don't beat up on the poor amateurs. And why aren't we hearing more people say that? I mean, you're protecting him. From who? Come on, please.
Right.
I don't get it. I mean,
yeah,
I'd love to see a ball that could go 400 yards. I'd love to see it.
As would I.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? How far did you hit it? 400 yards. Wasn't that cool? Yeah, it was cool. How fast is your swing speed? 82. You saw these long drive knuckleheads on TV that they 150-mile-an-hour club speed. Come on, what's that? That's not the average player.
Right.
Shout out to George Animal Slevsky, too, for winning the senior division. George is a good friend of mine. Worked with George a bunch. The Animal. He's hilarious. He calls you on the phone. Hey, Eric, it's the Animal. Oh, hi, George. How you doing? He calls himself by their name. I love it. The Animal. Hey, hi, George. How are you?
That's great.
I think I threw him off every time I say hi, George. He goes, no, it's the Animal. Oh, okay. All right, Animal. Whatever.
And and Eric, you mentioned penalties. When I look, golf rules feel to me like like the recruiting rules in the NCAA. There are so many, some of which just simply don't make any sense to me. Like in golf, like the penalty you get issued if you address the ball on the green and then the wind blows really hard and the ball moves. That's a penalty, really? What was I supposed to do about that? Are there rules you think that the tour really needs to take another look at?
Well, I think they're doing. Yeah, I mean, you're always trying to improve upon the rules, and I'd love to see him again. I'm not going to get in my soapbox again, but I'd love to see him do something about pace of play. This whole call-in thing bugs me. I know they're trying to get it right, but if you called in on football, you could find a hold or a clip or something every single play. But we don't call in on the Super Bowl. But so why are we calling in on the show? I think some of the things that a guy makes a mistake, an honest mistake, he didn't know, whatever happened, and then someone calls in and he's penalized. I think that's nonsense. I mean, if you've got a rules official in every group, walking with every group, if they don't spot it, then I don't think you should call in on the show. It's just my opinion. I mean, now I know you're trying to protect the field. I know you're trying to get it right. I got that, but you don't call in to baseball either. You don't call in on a soccer match. I mean, I'm sorry. I think that sort of needs to. I think that kind of needs to get flushed. I think that's a bad one. But the rest of them, I think they're okay. I just don't know about this call-in thing.
All right. We've got a couple more for you before we let you go, Eric. We got our next guest, Shaun Micheel, hanging on the line. We're going to get to Shaun in just a moment. Let's talk a little bit about some of the tips that people can find on your website, ericjohnsongolf.com, as well as golf.com. Talk about the 12 rule and how we can use that to determine what type of pitch shot we need to hit.
Yeah, the 12 rule, it sounds really complicated, but listen, I went to Mississippi State, and if I can figure it out, everybody can. I'm telling you, so trust me on this. Each club rolls out a little bit more. For example, if I was 3 paces off the green, I need to land at 3 paces. Well, I know that a 9-iron rolls out 3 times more than it flies. So the simple ratio is it flies 3, it's gonna roll 9. And people always say, well, how do I know that? Well, I try to pace on to the green. 1, 2, 3 paces where I need to land it, and then how far is to the pin? If it's 9, you divide the 9 by 3, and that's 3. And then so people say, well, what do I know if I have the ratio now? Let's say I paced it off, and the ratio is a 4-to-1 ratio. Well, it's called the 12 rule for a reason, because if you take 12 minus 4, it gives you 8, which is an 8-iron. And then people say, well, what club goes a ratio of 4? Well, 12 minus 8 is 4. That's the 4 ratio. So it adds to 12 always. Pitching wedge is going to be a 10, so that would roll 2 times more than it flies. 7-iron would roll 12 minus 7 is 5. I'm a Mississippi Stater. I got my hands up here in front of me counting, but that's 5. I can figure out it's going to roll 5 times more than it flies. So, once you get an idea and baseline about that, it really helps people, because I think most people, everyone goes up with a sand wedge, and then they try to chip it, halfway across the green. And when you're trying to chip it something further away, it's harder to hit. So, to me, I'm always trying to land 1 pace onto the green and then let it roll over to the hole. So that's a definition of a chip, is it rolls more than it flies. So there's no reason on a chip to make it fly more than it rolls. There's no reason to hit pitch. When you can putt it. Off green putting, you'll see that a lot at Oakmont. Whenever you can't putt it, then we got to chip it, and if it's not a chip, it's a pitch.
There you go. Great stuff. Thank you for that. And one more before we let you go. And Eric, the weakest part of my game is a bunker shot. My buddies will tell you those shots scare me to death. What's something simple that I and our listeners can do to help us get out of the bunkers more consistently with a chance to save par?
Well, you gotta, you'll see on my website there's a bunker drill, and I always say, listen, think about it like it's a pancake and there's an egg on the top. Worst thing that you can do is hit the egg. You don't want to get egg on your face, right? So use the bounce, hit the sand. The other thing that's so important in a bunker shot was I see most people in a bunker shot hitting further and further and further behind the golf ball. And they think, well, I hit the ball coming, so I must have hit it on the downswing. No, you're hitting it on the up because you're leaning back trying to help it up. You got plenty of loft on those sand wedges anymore. There's even 64-degree sand wedges. So, the more you can open up the face and get that bounce, that you got plenty of loft. But, I'd love to draw one big straight line in a bunker, and I have people trying to hit as close to that line as they can do it. And then put a ball out in front of the line and say, hit the same line. And you'll be amazed that people will start hitting a foot behind the ball. So you've got to hit, a couple inches behind the golf ball, draw that line, thinking, throwing that pancake of sand onto the green. If you do that, it will come out. The bunker shot should be the easiest shot in golf because we have the most margin for error. You can hit a little behind it. You can hit a lot behind it. If that sand moves the ball out, it's out. So I mean, you shouldn't be panicked over that. Most people panic, try to help it, and lean back.
There you go. That's me. Eric, before we let you go, remind our listeners how they can find you both online and over social media.
Well, you can see me on ericjohnsongolf.com. I have a Twitter account. I don't do much with it, unfortunately. I'm going to start here. I'm a little bit in the Stone Ages, but I'm going to get going on that and look for the big U.S. Open preview in June issue of Golf Magazine. It's going to be a big one. We got a lot of cool stuff in there. And, Chris, I just want to thank you for having me, and I want to say to all the men and women out there, keep fighting our noble cause. Stay safe. Shoot straight. If those, knuckleheads out there want to say anything bad about the United States of America, I hope they meet one of our men and women face to face, and we'll let them sort it out. But it's a great country, and keep doing what you're doing, fight the fight.
There you go, Eric. Thank you for saying that. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You're one of the guys that I really enjoy having so much fun with you on the show. You make it every time you come on the show. It's a great time, and the segment flies by, and it did again this morning. Thank you for taking time out of your morning, Eric, to be a part of the show. I hope you'll come back and do it again real soon.
Oh, I'd love to. Chris, you did a heck of a job. I don't know where you get some of that stuff on these intros, too. You amaze me every time on that. Thanks, buddy. Tell Shaun Micheel I send my best, and tell him his boy Doug Barron and I played on the team together, and I'm keeping up with Doug a little bit on Facebook and seeing him. It's pretty cool. So good luck to Shaun. He's a good man.
Yeah, indeed he is. Thanks so much, Eric. We look forward to catching up with you again real soon. In the meantime, all the best to you and your family, my friend.
Thanks, Chris. You too, bud. See you later.
All right. Take care, Eric.
Bye-bye.
That's Eric Johnson again. ericjohnsongolf.com. Great stuff, folks. So many great lessons that he can take you through and help you in all different parts of your game. And that 12 rule is fantastic, and that certainly has helped me with my chipping game. All right, we're going to get to our next guest, Shaun Micheel, on the other side of this message from our friends over at the French Lick Resort.
You just can't beat this weather. The leaves are starting to change. It's the perfect time to get away to French Lick Resort and play the courses the champions play. This year, the Pete Dye course at French Lick has hosted the Senior PGA Championship and the Legends of the LPGA Championship. Play our Donald Ross course and feel like 1924 PGA champion Walter Hagen. Fall is the perfect time to play the courses the champions play at French Lick Resort. Book our Hall of Fame package now at FrenchLick.com.
You're listening to Next on the Tee with Chris-Mascaro, heard around the world on the Armed Forces Radio Network.
All right, now back with me to answer more of your questions on the Seymour Putters guest line is our friend and 2003 PGA champion, Shaun Micheel. Hey, Shaun, how are you this morning, my friend?
Oh, great, Chris. How you doing this morning?
Really well, thank you.
Good.
So Shaun, before we get to our questions this week, I got to get your take on the University of Memphis football team. For any of our first-time listeners joining us today, you live just outside of Memphis. You do some work with the University of Memphis golf team. Their football team, 7-0. They just beat Tulsa 66-42, and their quarterback, Braxton Lynch, 447 yards, 4 touchdowns. What's the buzz around Memphis like for a team that, quietly last year finished 10-3 and kind of snuck into the top 25 at number 25, and now they could find themselves this week inside the top 50?
Yeah, I mean, I think, they're definitely, they've been trending in the right direction for a couple of years. Coach Fuente, of course, he came from TCU and is really starting to build something great. I mean, it's fun. It really is. I mean, we were at the Ole Miss game last week, and that was really exciting for the program and for the fans. My grandfather, Stephanie's grandfather, bought tickets to the Memphis games when the Liberty Bowl first opened in 1965. So we've had the same seats, or our family has had the same seats, for 40-some years now. I guess it's almost 50 years. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we've supported the program, through thick and thin, and it's nice to see some of the great things that are happening to them. I mean, last night's game was good. I mean, they're putting up the points, but, the defense there were a lot of penalties. The defense gave up a lot of points. Although, Tulsa, I think Tulsa put up 600 yards on Oklahoma this year. So Tulsa can play. College football is exciting now. The old style football that Nebraska used to play where they just ran it every single down and just challenged you to stop them. I think that's really, it's gone by the wayside. I think you still hear about the running game and stuff like that. And fortunately for Memphis, Paxton can throw, he can run. We've got 3 or 4 running backs that we can choose from, different plays, different lineups, different formations. It's fun to watch, and I'm excited for them. The tough time is going to come ahead here before too long when, South Carolina's got some availability there at coach, and hopefully we can find a way to keep Justin here. Money is a huge consideration. Being in a top-level program in a top-level conference probably is where all these guys want to be. Unless we can get into a Power 5, it might be tough to keep him. But I think there's a couple teams leaving the Big 12 this year, so we might have an opportunity because Memphis is a really good academic school. Stephanie graduated from law school there. But it's exciting. It really is. And we enjoy going to all the games.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is, and Memphis, University of Memphis or Memphis University, for so many years has been known more as a basketball school. And they've, certainly had so many great players and done so well, on the basketball side. It sure is nice to see, the football program start to get a little attention and start to play really well. I hate the fact that, a school like Memphis that has, struggled for so many years on the football side finally start to make some headway. And, like I said, had a good season last year, going to have another good season this year. I sure hope that he doesn't leave to take another job somewhere else. And, the school takes, a whole bunch of steps backwards because he's built something really good. It would be nice for the school and for the city to have, be excited all year round by having a really good, they have a great basketball team on the NBA side. So professionally, that program or that, team, whatever you want to call it, has certainly elevated its play with the Memphis Grizzlies and that sort of thing. But to be able to back that up with a good college basketball and a good college football program is just going to do wonders for the city.
Yeah, the basketball program, it's interesting really how everything's kind of shifted around here because Memphis for the longest time, Stephanie, Dana Kirk, he passed away in 2010, was kind of the coach that everybody looked up to as far as basketball. And the tradition really, carried on through Coach Calipari, who left a few years ago, and Coach Pastner. I don't know if Coach Pastner's days are numbered here in Memphis, but I can tell you that basketball, which was number one, in attendance for sports here in Memphis, is probably now number 3. The Grizzlies have had some a really, really strong years. Fans are really getting interested in what they're doing. Dave Yeager's built a great program there. It's fun. Look, people aren't always NBA fans because of some of the things that have kind of gone on, but I think that Adam Silver has done a good job of cleaning up the NBA a little bit. But someone put out an interesting tweet last year, and it was basically directed right at Josh Pastner, and it was, hey, Josh, thanks for turning Memphis into a football school, which was pretty harsh, but I think that's the reality of the situation. My wife and I, we gave up our basketball tickets, for several reasons. They're having a big day today that what they'll call Memphis Madness is going on today, where the fans get a chance to go down to the FedEx Forum and do those and meet the team and it's basketball teams really struggling, and but it's exciting. It's an exciting time for football.
Mm-hmm. All right, Shaun, let's get into this week's questions from our listeners for you. We've talked in the past about how you're not very superstitious, but our first question this week is, do you have an old faithful putter that sort of comes and goes from your bag that you go back to regularly after you've maybe tried out the newest, latest, and greatest putter?
I suppose so. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I had back in 2010, and of course, I've changed over the years. When I was younger, the Ping B60 putter was my choice, and I used it for a long time. And I think all of us kind of get to different looks and things like that. But back in 2010, I had decided to make a putter switch. I'd really kind of gotten into heel shafted putters, and I kind of struggled a little bit and wasn't doing very well, and just wanted something, just a different look. So I found this putter that Odyssey had made. It was called a backstrike, and it's almost it's an onset putter where the shaft kind of comes in behind the face and sets the face, in front of the weight of the backside of the putter, and it's just really, really unusual looking. And I think at the time I just kind of decided, hey, if I'm going to change putters, I'm going to go something that's really pretty drastic. And I like the way that it's set up. It's called a stroke balance putter. If you lay the putter in your fingers, you have face balance where the face is, pointing straight up, and then you'll have quarter hang and half hang and stuff like that. And I always like kind of a half hang or a quarter hang putter.
Now what does that mean? What's that? What do you mean by hang?
Okay, well, if you just lay the putter in your hand, just hold your hand out and hold the putter, kind of its balance point where it's, parallel to the ground. If the face of the putter is looking straight up at the sky, like where the part that you impact, that's face balance. If the toe hangs a little bit, towards the ground, a full heel shafted putter, the putter is going to hang pretty much straight down to the ground.
Right.
Where a quarter hang, you'll have the toe hanging just a quarter way to the ground, 30, 40 degrees, something like that. And all the putters are designed on based on where the shaft lines up with the center of the putter. So you can have putters that are offset, yet have quarter hang, or offset putters that you think, these that are face balanced. So it's all where the center line of the shaft comes into the center part of the putter. If you drew a line of extension down to the putter where it basically comes in. So, but the other day I went back to the backstrike. I'd gone away from it, for probably the last 6-7 months. That's about right, 6 or 7 months. I went to another Odyssey tank cruiser that they had made for me with a quarter toe hang, and I used it in the PGA. But then the other day I kind of just went back to my backstrike putter, and for me it's a really unusual putter. I think of Tommy Gainey, I think, uses one. The one I use it's called a Marksman, and they make 2 or 3 different styles of it, and I don't think they make it anymore. But I've kind of gone back to that. So I don't look at it as superstition. I look at it as just sometimes you just want a different look, and it's okay to do that. I've never really been one to kind of panic about changing putters and how it felt. Now, if you go from a center shafted putter to a heel shafted putter, you have to understand that, one, the look's different, but also the way that the club rotates opens up going back. I mean, it's a tough feeling for some people to get, but after a couple of days, you can kind of get a feel for it.
Mm-hmm. And Shaun, we get so many questions every week about your health, and you've been great to address those questions. This week we had about a half dozen questions about the heart condition that you've been dealing with. One in particular was centered around the rider's father, saying that he was lamenting or having come off of a heart attack about being able to walk the golf course anymore. And the question is walking golf, walking in golf a good thing or a bad thing when you're coming off a heart condition issue?
Certainly you have to see your doctor on that one. But I think for me, I didn't have a heart attack. I mean, I think I was probably pretty close, and I think walking and being in decent shape really probably saved me from that. From having a heart attack, just because I was fortunate and I did find out that I had formed some collateral arteries. But walking is great for you. Kind of keeps everything moving around and everything. But
was it hard for you to get back out and start walking the golf course again after the issue that you went through?
Oh, I think it took me a little while, but I'll tell you, after having the stents put in, I mean, I felt so much better. I mean, I felt like I could do all the things that I could do before, because I was struggling with, I was struggling with just walking up a flight of stairs, carrying my kids around, and it was really quite unusual that I basically went from having symptoms to being on the operating table. I didn't have any time where I spent like, wow, what's that? I didn't spend a year or two wondering why I was out of breath. And that's what I thought was really kind of funny about everything, because I was still exercising, and it was only kind of every once in a while that I felt the symptoms. But it's difficult. It's scary. I think about it just about every day, about my heart and, whether or not this is going to be the one thing that gets me in the end. So every single day when I have to take my 6 pills, it just reminds me of all the stuff that I've kind of been through. And there's a lot of articles being published now about stenting, versus bypass surgery and the statin drugs. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And maybe I'm just a little bit more in tune to it. But it's scary for everybody that has a heart condition. But certainly being out there and being as active as you can be, I think is good. It's good for you.
Mm-hmm. And the other question around health that we got this week, Shaun, was around your diet. You have a special diet, and I don't think this has to do with the heart condition or anything, but is there a special diet or particular foods that you eat, before a tournament, night before a tournament, to help give you energy during the next round, and do you eat during the round?
Yeah, well, certainly, certainly when I'm out playing, and I think it all starts really with breakfast. I mean, I eat a very light breakfast. And typically that's what I do anyway. No heavy meals, no breads, no toast, anything like that before I go play.
So you're not
carving
up?
No, I don't. I mean, I think you look at that maybe in other sports more active, maybe football, maybe basketball, maybe swimming, those types of things that guys will eat pasta and stuff like that to try to get get that energy stored up. But no, nothing like that. I mean, the worst feeling is to go out there and feel heavy. You want to feel light on your feet out there, even as a golfer. So usually in the morning before I play, it's yogurt and some fruit, and that's about it. I mean, I might have one piece of bacon or one sausage just to get a little bit of protein. And dinner is the same thing. You try not to eat a lot of heavy foods the night before. Which is usually, it's funny too, because when I get on the road, I lose weight. Everybody thinks that when you get on the road that you're going to gain weight because you're eating it. Yeah, I know, because you think you're going to get out there and you're going to be eating out every night. But the one thing about eating out is it's your choice on what you eat. You can go to a fine steak place and get you a nice steak and a baked potato and all that stuff sounds great, but that's definitely not what you want to be. Ingesting prior to trying to play golf. I mean, it's okay every once in a while, but I don't. I suppose since my heart thing, I'm a little bit more cautious on eating salads and olive oil and stuff like that. But I think it just becomes a habit if you start eating an In-N-Out burger every day or Five Guys or whatever they are. Those are bad things for you. Especially if you're going to try to play around the golf. But I think just whatever that's light that's available. I'll come in and have a salad for lunch with some chicken or something like that. But try to stay away from a lot of the fried stuff. And most of the tournaments, to be honest, have really really cautious with that. And that's probably changed over the years. I recall one time sitting down at Charlotte, and this has been probably 8-10 years ago, and a player walked in, and he had I'm telling you, he was on this carb thing, all carbs, and he had, I'm telling you, at least 15 pieces of bacon on his plate and a pile of eggs, and I thought, man, this is a heart attack waiting to happen. So anyway, it was just kind of funny, but the tournaments have done a good job, but I still like to eat things. I mean, we all have our things that we like, our vices, and and things like that. But I think when you're playing golf, you just, you understand kind of what it's going to get you going through the day, and certainly we do eat during the round. I like almonds and raisins. I like to mix. I go to whatever grocery store, and Stephanie does a good job. She gets me raisins and almonds, and I chew on those. They're heart-healthy snacks too, but give you a little bit of protein and everything. So I usually have those in my bag, and there's bars and things like that. Energy drinks. You see a lot of the guys now that are carrying the Amino Vital bottles and stuff with the powders, and there's different things for electrolytes, and especially when it's hot out in the summertime. In the summertime, it's you're not very hungry anyway, so you might find other ways to replenish some of the things you're losing. But and it's like I said, the tournaments do a great job with putting fruit and apples and bananas and other things out there for people to snack on. You're out there for 5 hours. I heard Eric talking about J.B. Holmes and how slow he is. You're out there for 5 hours, and it takes a while. You need something, so most guys try to time it, so I'm eating all the time. And, of course, if you saw my golf bag, too, I love snacks. I mean, I don't know, I've got all sorts of, candy in my bag, which is probably not good, but, I kind of got the nickname the Snack Man out there on the beach.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so just kind of open up. I got Gobstoppers, I got Atomic Fireballs, I've got Lifesavers, I've got all sorts of things in my bag. I don't know. I just like to, some guys chew gum. I've got gum in there too. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny, but and you get bored out there too, and I think that's bad. It's kind of like when you're sitting around the house, people eat when they're bored. I think that's kind of what I do. I snack on when I'm bored.
The next couple of questions, Shaun, are around the golf ball, and this next one is: how often do you change golf balls in the course of a round? Not because you lost it, but because maybe you feel like it's out of round or whatever.
Oh yeah, you just have to change them a lot more. I'm of that generation where a little bit of a thin shot or maybe a nice crisp wedge off a tight lie, used to tear the balls up. But now it's some guys are superstitious with that. Ernie Els changes after every birdie. I don't know. I kind of look at the ball, if it's a little discolored or maybe just has a marking from a shot or a tree. I don't worry so much about it ever being out of round. I just like a nice white ball out there. So if it's got some discoloration on it, I'll get rid of it.
And Ernie changes after every birdie?
Yeah, I think, he
really? I think I'd keep that one in play. If I bogeyed it, I could see, right? Get rid of the bogey ball. Yeah,
no, he believes that only one ball, and he probably does that too. I don't know, his caddy, I don't know how many balls he carries, but for a long time, Ernie's made a lot of birdies, but, I
were you saying he only thinks there's only one birdie in every ball? Is that where you were going?
Yeah, well, that's what he says, yeah, so I don't know, I'm assuming he still does that, but it's pretty unusual. Guys, if I've thrown, I don't know how many balls I've thrown away in trash cans, woods. I mean, if I'm just fed up with it, I'll get rid of it. I mean, I'm too afraid. See, the thing about me and superstition is I'm too afraid to become superstitious, because then if I forget to do something, then it's going to, it's just it's a snowball that just kind of gets out of control. So, but it just mismarking or if something happens, most of us use Sharpie on our ball. If you get the mark in a certain spot and you rip the paint off and it just drags across the ball, you'll change the ball and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just kind of get rid of it when I want to get rid of it. Definitely after a bad hole, though. I mean, if I do something bad, right. It's gone. It's gone. It's either going to somebody in the crowd and usually they don't want it either. So I'm
is that right? You throw it back?
No, it's kind of like a home run ball at somebody else's park. They throw it back on the field. I mean, unless it's in a World Series or something like that, where somebody wants to keep it. But I'm like, if I do something really bad with the ball, it usually goes into the garbage can. And because I don't want to give somebody a ball that is made a double bogey with, because they're gonna be like, oh, this guy, what's a double bogey ball? So no, if I do something bad, I won't give a ball. I may if there's no trash can around, I may give it to my caddy and he'll stick it in the bag, and then after I've calmed down, I may at the end of the round, hand it out and stuff like that. But anyway,
yep.
It's pretty funny, pretty crazy out there.
I want to ask you the same question I asked Eric Johnson a little bit ago. We saw Jason Day hitting drives 385 yards at the PGA Championship this year, which you were at. Bubba Watson hit a drive that was 404 yards. And we actually went through the green on 13 there at Whistling Straits. Is it time for the PGA to kind of step in and dial the distance back that the balls are flying, because it's getting ridiculous? At this point, for how far they fly. I mean, I know chicks dig the long ball and all, but do we need to bring that back so it's not just it's not goofy golf out there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's gotten crazy. Maybe I've changed my tune a little bit as I've gotten kind of older, but what they were doing. I mean, Jason Day on Sunday hit pitching wedge into number 11, the par 5, and a lot of that is just due to the wind, the firm conditions, and just the setup of the hole in general. You same with Bubba Watson. You're getting it down off the left wind, which is a hook wind for him on 13. And if you carry it out there 285, 290, the last 100 yards is downhill. So there's some of that in there. But yeah, I suppose it's gotten too much. I mean, the guys are fit. The technology. It's not all about the ball. I would say the majority of it is. There are so many limits. What's interesting is that the limits in the drivers with the MOI and, moving the weight towards the face and everything. I mean, there's lots of technologies. TaylorMade's got a new driver out that's all carbon. It's 3/4 carbon, 1/4, titanium, I guess, where they move all the weight forward. So there's a lot of things like that. So I don't know if it's all the golf ball or it's just a combination of the fitness, the swing speeds, the technology, and I don't know where it is. But, they've just come out and announced that, 15 years ago this week was when the Pro V1 came out. And I was a game changer. I remember because I finished 3rd or 4th in Vegas. Billy Andrade won. I think he was the first winner with the Pro V1. And that was a game changer. I mean, even after that, when it first came out, Nick Price had talked about lining the ball up on the seam. People were finding ways to use the golf ball. Different cores, the thinner covers with the harder cores. Then you have, so there's a lot of things out there. But I suppose it's probably time. But how do you do it? I mean, I don't know really how you regulate it. I did notice on the Long Drive Championship the other night, I think all the guys were using top flight balls. So they were all having to use. Now they had different drivers, different lengths, different lofts, those types of things, but they all had to use one ball. I don't ever see that happening, but I don't know. I mean, where do you regulate it? Maybe that's the next thing on the USGA's hit list. They've taken away the long putter starting here in January. I suspect that they've been looking at things like that and how a rule change could be implemented to dial the golf ball back. It's always fun to hit the ball long, but even when I go to my golf course that I grew up on, I mean, I'm in places that I never used to be, and so
is that right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's it's really kind of taken away from the golf course design. Players are able to take it over corners that they weren't able to take it over. The launch angles with these drivers. You're seeing guys now using 11, 12-degree drivers, which you never saw when you had a softer ball. Now you have to have more loft unless you've got swing speed in the 120s and up. My driver's probably at 10.5. I've used as much as 12 degrees to try to get the extra height with the golf balls because they just don't spin anymore. And I love spin. It's always something that I've felt good about because I like to move the ball around a little bit, and it's just difficult. to get the ball up in the air without really changing your technique and your swing. And that's kind of what I have to do to get the ball up in the air, it seems like. So without changing a whole lot, as they said, I loft up to try to get the ball a little bit higher. But I mean, where do you start? I don't know where you would start, but it's kind of gotten obscene, with some of these. And I think also it's not that these guys aren't good players. I mean, they are. They're great with the technology. But I think when the balls don't spin as much with as high a swing speed as they can't have a ball that spins too much, or they would never be able to keep it on line. So I think that some of these guys are able to play great golf because of the technology. Times change. My technology was different than what, some of the guys, all the guys that were playing in the 70s and early 80s. I mean, the technology has changed. But the golf ball has probably, been one of the biggest, advancements, in the game. I mean, you could argue that with the drivers and the club heads and the different ways that they try to move weight around and lower the CG. I mean, it's just they've spent so much money in R&D. It'd be hard to go back because I don't know what the USGA can do to kind of outspend, the lobbyists with the golf industry, because they certainly don't want to see anything going back. They spent too much money in getting these things done. I mean, there was a lot done with the technology, and Phil Mickelson got pretty heated with the USGA. Callaway, when they had gotten rid of square grooves, and they had limited the distance between the grooves and just the size of the grooves, Callaway had come up with a wedge that conformed to the rule of the USGA in the dimensions and the size and the spacing and everything else, but their ball spun more than any other club could. Well, then the USGA decided, the spirit of the rule was to try to limit the spin. They forced Callaway to change the way that new design was, which I don't know if it went to court or if they just, I don't really remember what happened with that. But and so Callaway has more grooves on their wedges than any other company. They looked funny in the beginning, and that was their way of just adding more grooves to the face.
Right.
So
people will get ingenious, right?
Yeah, well, that's what you got to do. I mean, people are just trying to find ways to,
right.
As Eric said earlier, that they've taken away the long putter, they've taken away the square grooves, and so companies are trying to find ways to get the ball to spin more. But the problem is they want more distance, and I don't know what they want more. Do they want more distance, or do they want guys to be able to have playability around the green? And so those are the two things that I look for in a golf ball, which leads me back to preferring more spin. Some people just want to bomb it, and they figure, you know what, I don't really need to worry about spin because I'm going to have a wedge into every green. And that's the case for some of these guys. J.B. Holmes, Bubba Watson, Jason Day, Rory McIlroy, all these kids hit it so far that they're not having to worry about having to spin an 8 or 9 iron into some of these greens. So I think the game's it's just going in a different direction and than from what I'm used to and want to see out there. Fans, I guess, are getting younger. They want to see the long hitter. They want to see guys hitting wedges into the greens, making tons of birdies. But hitting shots out of the trees is a lost art because nobody hits it in there anymore. So they'll figure it out. But I suspect that the USGA has been thinking about this for a long time. Jack Nicklaus has been the biggest proponent kind of dialing back the golf ball, and it hasn't happened. So I guess he doesn't have a big enough voice out there.
Shaun, so a couple of other questions before we let you go this week, and I gave a shout out at the beginning of the show to my father. Made his 6th hole-in-one this year at his home course on the opposite side of the state from you. He's now in Ottawa, Tennessee, just outside of Chattanooga. Yeah. But curious for you, hole-in-ones. How many have you made, and when was the first one?
I've made 11, I think, and I can't count all 11. I just know that the last hole-in-one that I made was in I was playing with Todd Hamilton and Alex Chaka at the qualifying school a couple years ago out in Palm Springs. But my first hole-in-one, I grew up at Colonial Country Club, which is where Al Geiberger shot his 59. I lived on the fourth green, and the fifth hole is a par 3. And so when I was younger, I used to go up in the summertime, after kind of everybody had gone through, and I used to be able to play 5, 6, and then 2, 3, 4. It was a little circle that came right back to my house. And I was just up there. I think I might have been in college. And I went up there and just teed off a number 5, and my first ball that I put down, I hit a 5-iron, in the hole. So that was my first hole-in-one. No one witnessed it. But yeah, no, it was just one of those nights. I just went up, grabbed my bag, and went up behind my house and just teed off and was going to play my little 5-hole stretch there. And so yeah, nobody saw it. But I've had a couple of holes-in-ones in PGA Tour events. But I've had a double eagle in the U.S. Open.
You played in a tour. What was the most exciting one for you?
Well, I had one in 2002 at the BC Open. We had come back. I think we'd had a rain delay, and I made a hole-in-one on, I think it was Saturday, of the BC Open in 2002 at Endicott, which is now a Champions Tour event. I think it's the Dick's Sporting Goods Open. And it was an event that I should have won. I ended up having a 3-shot lead going the last day, and I bogeyed the last 2 holes to finish third. But that was pretty exciting because I was in line to set the scoring record. I think I shot 67, 65, 65, I think, and so that was pretty exciting. I made one at the Sony Open in 2011 on 17, and I was playing with Charles Warren and Dave Eichelberger, of all people. Dave lives in Hawaii. And I remember making on 17, and I thought everybody was like, "Oh, you're going to get a bunch of Sony stuff," and I got nothing.
Really?
And it was the same thing in New York. They had a nice brand new Buick car sitting there on their 17th hole, and it was just there for display. I didn't get anything.
Really?
So, no, didn't get anything for that one either, and which is okay. But now you see, like in Europe, on every par 3, there's a BMW i8 I've seen people have won. So I don't think I've never gotten anything for one of the holes-in-one that I've made during play at a PGA Tour event. So I just kind of picked the wrong holes, I guess. But they're also memorable too. They really are. My double eagle probably stands out more than any other. The double eagle that I made in the U.S. Open in 2010, on Sunday at Pebble Beach. It stands out probably more than anything else that I've done, other than maybe the first hole-in-one. To do something like that in the U.S. Open, there's only been 3. T.C. Chen made one, and I made one, and Nick Watney made one. Now, Nick's was like a 7-iron or something like that on a par 5 it was at the Olympic Club, I think, a couple years ago. So not diminishing, it's still a double eagle, but, mine was from 240 yards out, and I think, T.C. Chen's, I think he hit a 3-wood in. So, but that stands out more for me, I think, than anything else, just the circumstances and just the kind of the coolness factor of it.
Yeah.
And really only having 3 guys ever to do it in the U.S. Open is something else that I remember. But, but we all have memorable things. I think so. I think the double eagle stands out more, but and the first hole-in-one stands out.
Couple more here on on both sides of the coin, a positive question and a question. So let's get the negative one out first. And I do another show on the football side called Thursday Night Tailgate, and we get the opportunity to talk to current and former NFL players. And one of the guys that we had on earlier this year is actually going to be joining us again in a couple of weeks. Is former first-round pick Akili Smith, who played quarterback at Oregon and was later drafted by the Bengals. And someone went on his Facebook page and said, "How does it feel to be one of the all-time biggest busts?" And I love his response because I thought it was great. And he said, "You know what? I was one of the 1% of the people on the planet that gets to play my sport, my profession at the highest level. And that felt great.
Mm-hmm.
Along those lines, our next question is, Shaun, in today's world of social media, people don't always put out there the nicest things. Has anyone ever, said something to you that you had to deal with that was unkind?
No, I certainly got a lot of that. Not so much anymore, as I've kind of been off the tour for a while. But I think what I certainly heard a lot of stuff, and a lot of it really pertained to, I usually get the one-hit wonder, and that was really the flash in the pan type of thing. I think one of the most mean-spirited things was really affected all of us, the guys that won the majors in 2003, when, kind of Hall of Fame sports writer Dan Jenkins, I hate giving him props. I hate even mentioning his name, to be honest with you, he wrote that the 2003 majors were the worst majors for the winners, but not only the winners, but for the guys that were runners-up. And here we're talking about, Hall of Famer, Jim Furyk winning his U.S. Open, Mike Weir, who has struggled with health issues, as of late. He just basically kind of berated us and determined for himself that the 03 were maybe the worst year for majors. But that was more on a national, because he put that out there in a lot of places. And, look, when you're out there playing golf or any other sport, your goal is to go out there and win. That's what you want to do. History, just because you're playing in a major, the champion is not reserved for just the named guys. If you're in the field, you're there to try to win the event. Which is what I did. It wasn't like the PGA of America or CBS Sports, had a wheel with everybody's name in it, and mine just happened to get picked out and say, oh, well, we're going to have Shaun Micheel win this event. Anybody that watched and knows anything about the 03 PGA knows that I led with about the last 3 or 4 holes to go on Friday. So I slept on the lead Friday, and I slept on the lead Saturday. I never lost the lead, from that day on. So when I won the tournament, I did not only deserve to win, I did all of the other things too that, determined the outcome. Now, I had a difficult time. I think I've had a difficult time subsequent that, and maybe more people write about that and say things about why I wasn't able to follow that up. But in 2004, I had a pretty good year. The biggest thing for me that really affected is 3 months after I won, I became a father. And my son Dade will be 12 in less than a month. And, that was one of the biggest changes for me, is trying to handle the newfound fame, I think, of winning a PGA championship, winning a major championship, and then becoming a father. You want to talk about a life changer.
Right.
So there were a lot of things kind of being thrown at me at one time. I take solace in the fact that there are, how many people on the PGA Tour play an entire career and never even win? The list goes on. And I've certainly been in position to win, and I've acknowledged the fact that I probably should have won a couple times before my PGA, particularly the 2002 BC Open. I should have won that tournament, and I didn't. But it was difficult. I just had such a tough time. I knew that I was in a different era, a different level, that I was going to have to try to validate that win. And I knew from the very next day how difficult that was going to be for me. I remember Greg Norman coming up to me at the Shark Shootout. Chad Campbell and I got paired together, and actually we lost in the playoff there. We probably should have won that event. But Greg came up to me, when I got on property and said, "Hey, Shaun, I just want to welcome you to the club." Now, I knew what he meant, and it's only really till the last year or so that I realized that that's one membership that's been, I really never really felt like a member, because I've always kind of felt like an outsider, and I still feel that way to a certain degree when I go to the Champions Dinner at the PGA every year. because
Really?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I felt that for a long time. Maybe not so much the first couple years, but I think really as my career has kind of dwindled on the PGA Tour, I feel that. I mean, I do feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, of being in that group of guys. But each of those guys that you go in, most of them are Hall of Famers, or going to be Hall of Famers. You think of Rory and Jason Day now, and Phil Mickelson, Martin Keimer. I mean, all these guys that have won PGA championships. Tiger for sure. So I go into that group and I go through and I see my picture every year that they give it to me after the champions dinner ceremony. I go through the list of guys and I'm like, oh man, I just need to be in the back row somewhere, because I just kind of feel like as each year goes by, I don't really feel like I really belong anymore, and and I felt that way for a while. It's tough to admit that, but I do understand that. I mean, look, there are days that I wish that I never would have picked up a golf club and played this game. That I would have gone on and just been a pilot for FedEx like my father. And when I got into college, I still wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to play professional golf, but it wasn't until really the start of my junior year when I got a new coach that I felt like that's what I wanted to do. So there are parts of me that feel that way today, and
why?
I don't know if it's midlife crisis type thing, but just overall disappointment, because I continue to really work hard on my game. I practice. I mean, I practice as hard now as I ever have. I play golf. I'm out there 5-6 hours every single day, going to the gym and looking for my next opportunity. The game has changed. Gone are the days where I, would get some sponsors exemptions. I mean, I don't get any of those anymore. I don't get any invites to the web.com. So a lot of this stuff, I think, it's just how it happens. I mean, the interest level is not there, and so what do I need to do? I got to work hard. I got to try to get back on the PGA Tour somehow, and in the next couple of years, and then I'll play the Champions Tour in 3 years. But there have been a lot of things over the years that people have said, and I know this has really been a long-winded answer, and it's kind of taken me down a lot of different roads. But I think it's important for people to realize that, when you're out there, your goals are to play well, to play at a high level, to compete, and to win. And it was just really difficult. And we could spend a couple hours on why, maybe why I didn't win, beyond that. But it's difficult too. Once 1 year goes by, you don't think, oh, that's no big deal. I enjoyed my year. And those are the things that Bob Tway and Jeff Sluman both told me. They said, Shaun, work hard, enjoy this next year, and don't worry if things don't really go your way. There's a lot of newness here, but work hard and get back to playing great golf. But again, as the first year went by and I didn't win, oh, it's no big deal. It's just it's kind of in the honeymoon of winning the PGA. Then the next year went by, and then then I got injured in 2007. I had surgery in 2008, and now it's kind of like, wow, that's the end of that. So it's hard. It really is. I mean, you look at Rich Beam. Rich Beam, all the interest he's gotten over the last couple of days with his thing in Hong Kong with Ian Poulter. I mean, Rich hasn't won. I don't think Rich has won since the 2002 PGA. It's happened, and it happens to you. And for whatever reason, most people don't end their career on a high note. I can't think of too many people, maybe Barry Sanders, that end their careers on high notes. I mean, for the most part, you're either told to leave or you're pushed out through attrition, or you just don't want to play anymore. And I'm starting to see some of those things. I've kind of seen the writing on the wall for a number of years, but I still work hard to try to get out there, because I feel like mentally, I feel like if I could get back out there, I could compete. There's been a lot of negativity the last couple of years, and I succumbed to some of that, but I feel like I'm kind of rising above all that, and I feel like I could get out there, I can compete. But going back to what we talked about earlier with the technology, there were days when you length has always been something that people have strived for, and there were days where you get out driven by somebody by 20. Davis Love is always probably one of the longest hitters of guys that actually competed on the tour, and he might outdrive you by 25 yards. Now when you get out driven, you're getting out and driven by 100 yards. And you're looking at some of these guys, and I mean, you get a 290-yard drive, and these guys are catching it downwind. You know, they're hitting at 390, 370. I mean, it's really just it's a young man's game now. Yeah, it's a young man's game. I mean, anyway, it's hard. It's really hard to really put really my thoughts and feelings into a sentence or two. So I apologize for getting a little kind of off track here, but it's just hard to summarize that. There's just a feeling that I think that I have that is hard to really kind of get out. We all recognize whatever sport it is, whatever job or profession that you've chosen. We all realize where we are on the totem pole. Some people are there at the top. Some people are working their rear end to try to get to the top. Some people are satisfied with just being middle of the road. And I think when you're a professional athlete and you're under a lot of scrutiny, there's a lot of motivation out there to try to reach the top. But it's just not attainable. The guys that are the best at their profession, they just do things. They look like they're doing the same things, but for some reason they either get the ball in the hole quicker or they're just better mentally or whatever the case may be. I mean, look, if you took Jack Nicklaus, he would never make a cut on the PGA Tour. But I guarantee you in his mind he thinks he can. He thinks he can beat all these kids. But he just can't. So, you know, he's older and I think that's just the way it goes. I'm 46 years old and maybe Father Time has kind of gotten the best of me. But I'd certainly like to have one more shot at it.
Yeah, and we're rooting very hard for you to get that one more shot at it. And I got a good feeling about 2016 for you, Shaun. One more thing.
Go ahead.
No. Finish your thought.
No, I was just saying I'm gonna, you know, in my quest to try to get back to the PGA Tour, I'm going to the Web.com Tour School here in a couple of weeks. Actually, I think it's in 3 weeks. I'm going to Houston and going to try this one more time, I think, and just try to get back onto the web because I think that's really the only access now to the PGA Tour, as they call it, the pathway to the PGA Tour. So I'll do that, and I've still got a lot of friends out there that I want to compete with and play with. And it's funny, you know, when I get in some of these events, you know, people have looked at me the last couple of years and like, Shaun, where have you been? And you know, it's nice to know that guys care about you out there. And you know, it's a family, and it's a traveling circus every week. You go to dinner with guys, you play practice rounds with guys, you see them in the locker room, you form really good, solid relationships with other guys, and you know, when you start to lose some of that, you miss it. I certainly miss the travel. But I'm doing the things that I need to do to try to get back on to playing more regularly, and you know, hopefully this next year I'll get back and get some more status and get a chance to play golf and do the things that I love to do. So that's those are the things I'm working for.
Yeah, and we're rooting hard for you to get there as well. One more, Shaun, before we let you go.
Yeah.
So we went on the negative side. On the positive side,
yeah.
What's the nicest thing someone has said to you over the course of your career that has stuck with you, and maybe in times when things haven't been going well, you can reflect back on and say, you know what, that meant a lot to me?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot. I mean, it's hard to really single out one particular thing. You know, just the support that I think you get from the PGA Tour, the players out there that, you know, they I would say, you know, just by them asking, you know, Shaun, where have you been? I mean, I think that kind of stands out. I mean, most guys are there to embrace you. You know, it comes from your family. You know, my mom and dad were always huge supporters, and you know, always put their arm around me and told me to keep my head up and stuff like that. But you know, that's kind of cliche. I mean, you get that, but it's really no one thing that I can really think of offhand that I can really point to. You get a lot of positivity from, like I said, just being out there and competing from the fans. You know, I think I get a lot of notes. I still get quite a few notes from people in the mail, and they ask me to sign something. Yeah, I still get a few of those, and of course, I used to get a lot more. But I think being asked to come speak to the University of Memphis program, people understand that are in the game, know how difficult the game is. There's a lot of guys, and there'll be a lot of ladies for the LPGA that try to play the game that just don't ever make it to the PGA Tour and don't ever have the level of success that even I've had. Now, look, I was certainly my career's been pretty good. We always want things that are better, but you got to be satisfied and know that you've done the things that you can do to be successful, and really have no regrets. But I do have a whole pile full of letters and stuff that people have sent me, congratulating me on my win, acknowledging the fact that, yeah, it's understandable that I haven't won since, but that's, the PGA win is and the way that it was accomplished was a significant part of my life and brought a lot of satisfaction to the fans. It's hard to single one thing out. I think just being embraced by the fans and my town here in Memphis, Tennessee. When I go out, I see a lot of people that want to talk about the 7-iron, and they all understand there's been a lot of good moments in my career, but that's the one thing that people will remember. And I think, along with that and some of the great things that we're doing with Make-A-Wish here and the kids of St. Jude and Le Bonheur, those are the things that I guess I'm maybe most known for now. And, golf is always going to be a part of my life, and hopefully I've been able to give back enough in the community that people will start to remember me for some of the things that Stephanie and I are doing beyond the golf course.
There you go. And Shaun, as you just mentioned, going back out to try to qualify on the web.com tour, where can our listeners catch up with you, maybe see you out on the golf course, and then, as well as we talk about every week, how can they stay up to date with what you're doing over social media as well?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I'm at Shaun Micheel PGA, and then I think I have a LinkedIn account with just my name, and then my name for Facebook. It's interesting. I like to read. I like to see what's going on in the world of sports. But it's a good avenue, I think, for people to try to reach out to me, and it's been great for me to read and keep up with some of the things that are going on in the world as well.
Where on the web.com tour, where can people come out and root you on and give you the support to help get you over the top?
Yeah, well, I'm going to Deerwood, which is in Houston. Anybody that remembers the movie Tin Cup, that is the 4th hole at Deerwood. So I'll be there like the 7th or the 8th. It's actually the 11th through maybe it's the 10th through the 13th, I think, of the dates, Tuesday through Thursday. I'm actually going up to Bloomington, Indiana here in a couple of weeks. My golf coach is being inducted into the IU Hall of Fame, so I'm excited to get up there and see him, and then see a lot of. And he's the reason really why I got on the PGA Tour and why I won the PGA Championship. He doesn't get enough credit. It'd certainly be great to have him on your show. He played the tour for 7 or 8 years, and I spent 2 weeks prior to the PGA Championship. I spent 3 or 4 days up in Indiana learning how to chip again. I'd forgotten how to chip, and that was really one of the reasons I won. I mean, my short game is pretty good. So Sam Carmichael is his name, and he's been a huge part of my life and was really the determining factor in not only my decision to stay at Indiana, because like Eric said, he went to Mississippi State, and that's where I was going at the end of my sophomore year until I realized that Sam was going to take over the program. But he was just a huge determiner in my decision to not only stay at IU, but also to play professional golf. And he was certainly an instrument in my win at the PGA Championship. And I'll never forget the days we spent just hitting basic chips around the greens. But so I'm doing that, and then I'm going to go straight from there to Houston for this web.com qualifying school. So I'm excited, looking forward to it. But if I don't make it again, I know, I'm going to be in for a long 2016. So I'm working hard towards that goal to play well and get back on the web.com and and hopefully get back on the PGA Tour.
There you go. And again, Deerwood Country Club down in Houston, November 10th through 13th. Hopefully our listeners will come out in throngs to help support you. Shaun, you know we're behind you, and can't thank you enough for being a part of the show again this week. It's always, great to sit back and listen to you share, the experiences that you've had, both on and off the golf course. So thanks for being here. I look forward to, hopefully, as your schedule allows, continuing to have you as part of the show.
Yeah, well, Chris, thank you so much. It's always kind of therapeutic. We don't always get into these get into my mind a little bit, but I'm really happy to share anything and everything really about my life. I don't know if that's good or bad. Some people might not think that's the greatest thing to.
It's a great thing.
Give up so much information, but I enjoy it. It's good for me too.
Ah, well, great, and we enjoy having you, and thank you. You're willing to share as much as you are, so that's great stuff, and it's great to listen to. In the meantime, Shaun, best of luck. And, like I say, as your schedule allows, we look forward to the opportunity to catch up with you, hopefully again real soon.
That's great, Chris. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care, Shaun. All the best to you and your family, my friend.
All right. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
2003 PGA champion Shaun Micheel, and I tell you what, I love how open Shaun is. I mean, his life becomes an open book, and the fact that he's willing to share so much of what he's been through and what he's going through and what his goals are and stories from his life. It's really great stuff, and I hope you're enjoying it, because I really am enjoying listening to Shaun share all of his life experiences with us. All right, folks, before we close up shop, I want to give you a word from our friends over at the SMGA. Take a listen from our friend and new partner, Jim Estes.
The Salute Military Golf Association was created to provide rehabilitative golf experiences to the brave men and women who have been wounded while serving our country. Hi, I'm Jim Estes, PGA Golf Pro and co-founder of the Salute Military Golf Association. With my adaptive golf program, we've successfully helped thousands of soldiers in their recovery, both mentally and physically. The SMGA has been providing family-inclusive golf experiences across the country since 2007. To date, the SMGA has equipped more than 1,000 warriors with properly fitted golf clubs and has extended its clinic series to more than 8 chapter and affiliate locations across the U.S. If you are a wounded veteran interested in participating, or if you'd like to learn more about the Salute Military Golf Association and find a chapter closest to you, visit our website at smga.org. We've seen firsthand how impactful golf can be in aiding one's recovery. The Salute Military Golf Association, empowering wounded veterans one fairway at a time. Visit smga.org. That's smga.org.
Absolutely. Great stuff. PGA Tour Pro Jim Estes and the great folks over at the Salute Military Golf Association. They're doing such wonderful things. Please do what you can to get involved and to help out. Go online to smga.org to see what you can do and do something great for some great individuals today. All right, folks, it's about time for me to put a bow on this episode. Before we close up shop, I like to remind you every single week about our friend Dave Stockton Jr. and his father, Mr. Stockton. Their great book out there called Own Your Own Game. Remember, folks, we hear about it every single week from the folks that join us on the show. So much of the game of golf is played between that 5-inch space between our ears. Get your mind right. In their book, the Stocktons let you know how to play better golf using your mind, play winning golf about using your mind. And Own Your Own Game recreates the experience of riding 18 holes with Mr. Stockton at one of his highly sought-after corporate outings, and draws from his experience as a champion player, both on the regular tour, the senior now champions tour, and as well as a revered coach for so many great players. He shows you how to think better, stay calmer, execute more consistently, and most importantly, folks, how to enjoy the game more thoroughly. Go to StocktonGolf.com to get your copy, and for a couple of extra dollars, Mr. Stockton will even autograph it for you. Plus, now, the Stocktons have also started a new partnership with a company called Back 9 Greens. For our listeners out in California, check out back9greens.com. If you're like me and you hate cutting the grass, check out, first of all, their great artificial turf. Landscaping is out of this world. Plus, they also create putting greens, which are absolutely amazing. They have an unmatched passion for installing the highest quality artificial grass products, including synthetic grass lawns and synthetic turf putting greens, and they're absolutely amazing. Check them out online, back9greens.com. All All right, my friends, my sincere thanks again to Eric Johnson and Shaun Micheel for joining me today and making the show for me so much fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. We thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys the very most. We know you have thousands of choices for programs to listen to or download or stream, and we appreciate that Next on the Tee is one of them. Please also check out our sister show, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me and my co-host Bob Lazaria and our announcer Joe Lajanusa. That show airs live every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can stream it on the Armed Forces Radio Network.org, go into Blog Talk Radio as well. You can find us on so many other great sites like iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player.fm, and SoundCloud as well. Audio Boom is on board with us. Podbean is also on board with us as a podcast. So please join us every single week. We are joined by legends from around the NFL and the CFL. Please check out both shows on Facebook. Give us a like. That's important to us too. You can find both shows online. This one, nextonthetee.net and ThursdayNightTailgate.com. You can stream or download any of our archive episodes for free and stay up to date with who some of our future guests are going to be by going to either site. Thank you again, folks, for listening to today's show. We really appreciate it. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris-Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA legends, pros and top instructors, and media members go to tell their stories. Join us same time every Saturday to hear more stories about the game we love from the people who love sharing those stories with you. It's all about the great game of golf. It's all about the great game of golf.